Hi friends, welcome back to this new series we're going to do here. Now a lot of you have requested for me to go back to doing my country porch chats where I have sat out on the front porch of this house or I would sit out on the porch of my farmhouse and we would do just this. I would answer questions and we would chat. However, with my dogs, every time they see me, they start barking, and with wind and noise and rain and all of that, Jade and I have made some small little YouTube advancements. I actually ordered some lights. So while Travis has the kids out, I put out a call on my Insta stories last evening looking for questions and even your best tips on dealing with mom guilt. I don't want to start announcing weekly themes, but we have had a theme this week. So I'm just going to start reading the questions. I will answer them, but I also asked again for your best tips. Okay, Froggy Mommy asked, how do you recharge? I'm struggling with finding time that actually refreshes me. Personally, the only way that I can recharge, I have to sleep. I know in motherhood, there are plenty of seasons where we don't sleep. I mean, Benjamin is now 13 months old, so I'm not up and down with him often throughout the night, but getting enough sleep is a gift to myself and a gift to my family. So if there's any way, if you could possibly go to bed a little earlier, if your husband could watch the kids so you could sleep in a little bit more in the mornings, if you can cut out something else, but don't cut out your sleep, that is most important. I also have had seasons where I would take the full nap time with children in the afternoon. So if I had a collection of kiddos, one kiddo or three kiddos that were going down for 2 to 3 hours, I would also use that time to take that afternoon nap. Again, not always, different seasons, different strokes for different folks, but I feel refreshed when I get my sleep. I also personally feel refreshed when I am in the times where I can get up in the morning at least a little bit before the kids and have that coffee and Jesus time. Another mom asked, in your opinion, is routine an essential part on how your kids respect their parents? I like to think of myself as more of a routine-based mom than a schedule-based mom. I have a calendar on the side of the refrigerator with our family schedule, but I have learned over the years that having a routine just helps our family flow better. So I don't think a routine, though, is necessarily important for children to respect their parents, but I think routines are important so that kids know what's happening next. Another mom asked, how do you deal with feelings of extreme loneliness? I'm a stay-at-home mom and feel like mom life is all that I know and feel very alone. I think as moms, we can feel isolated. I know I have dealt with times where I have felt very lonely as well. I have had to put in the initiative to cultivate friendships, to churn up and bring life back into old friendships, to get myself out there and try to make new friends. Several of my best girlfriends I have known for well over a decade. There have been times in those friendships where we may not have talked much over a year or so. I've had to put forth the effort and schedule a play day or reach out in some way or pick up the phone and make a phone call. And then there have been times when some of my best girlfriends have had to do the same to me. But I understand that as a mom, there certainly are those lonely times. And I have just always gone back to the premise of staying busy with my children, getting them out for activities, taking them to the library where the kids can have their good time, but then the mamas can sit in chairs and chat and have their good time as well. And then for some of these tips that moms turned in, I believe this is Cynthia Marie. She said, God gave you your children on purpose. They are there for you. And then she also goes on to say to not compare yourself with other moms. Another mom said, recognize we aren't sufficient on our own, but we need the King, Jesus, to give us all we need. Another mom said, this is a holy calling. She said, my greatest freedom came from knowing it's okay to do me and to be different. And she also shared, I've experienced the most guilt when I'm comparing myself to other moms. Another mom shared, She said, "Oh, I'm so excited about this video. I'm due with baby number 2 very soon, and I'm already feeling guilty about my time with my 2-year-old coming to an end. How can you manage multiples without feeling guilty, giving so much time and energy to a newborn? Please help." So I definitely remember those feelings and those days. I always go back to my memory, my classic story of when I went from being a mom of 1 child to 2 children. I remember my oldest was not quite 3, and he was hanging on me crying because he wanted held. And the brand new baby was probably 4 or 5 days old, and I was there changing his diaper, and he was crying. And then I had all the hormones, and that was the day my husband had just gone back to work. And then sometimes you notice, like, when you go to have your second baby, and this isn't true for everyone, but in my experience, when I went to have my second baby, you know, all the food and the house cleaning help and all of those little things weren't there. So I felt truly alone going from 1 child to 2 children, and we just all cried. What I did during that transition, I would nurse the baby, and then I would have my other little guy, Jaden, right there with me, and we would read a lot of stories. The baby's needs are met, being held and being fed. I mean, you just checked everything off for the newborn right there. And as the days and weeks went on, we were able to slowly get more adventurous and load up, and the first time going to the playground from 1 child to 2 children, and then going to Walmart and going to the library and having those little outings. We still move forward. The 2-year-old was not traumatized because of the newborn. I included the 2-year-old in as much as possible. And on my end, I did my best trying to include everyone in everything. And another mom said, this is One Happy Mommy 07. She said that she's reminding herself that God gave her her children and He knows best. So no one else can love them, care for them, teach them, or give them their whole heart the way that she can. Another mom shares, "I've discovered that in working through what I want for me and my family, that a big key is asking myself why I think something should be done a certain way, look a certain way, or be a certain way. Is it because society has told me that's what should be, or is it because it's what I truly want for myself and my family? In asking the why behind it, I've discovered freedom from guilt and doing things just because, quote, that's the way it's done." That resonates with me as well, because for me in my motherhood journey, in making the choice originally to be a stay-at-home mom, and then going through the process of deciding that we were going to homeschool. Also, I had a time where, oh wait, I went back to school and went back to work full-time weekends as a nurse. I didn't have any friends who were doing it. I was the only working mom in homeschool group back then. And then making the decision to continue to have children and be a large family. I mean, that's different. That's not what everyone does. Also growing and cultivating and developing my online business that was kind of accidental on purpose. You know, all of these things aren't necessarily the norm, but those things are what God had in my path for me, and my motherhood is all wrapped around. And so your motherhood path can look totally different, but it's okay because that's where you're supposed to be. Okay, last question. A mom said, "I have one little guy. He is 19 months old. I feel so guilty if I am not playing or engaged with him to work on housework. But then I feel guilty if my to-do list is left undone. I really struggle to find balance. Any tips?" Well, the 19-month-old little cute guy that you have, he has to be played with. He has to have his attention. And you live in your house, so your house has to be taken care of and food prepared and all the things that you do in daily life to run your home. So one way that you could go about it, and please, anyone watching, leave this mama tips down below. One way that you could do it is you could have a on-purpose focused time with your 19-month-old. And if you've given him his focused time first, then he should be for the most part settled and fulfilled, and you'll know in your mama heart while you're running your vacuum or loading that dishwasher that you just poured a lot of intentional time into him. You can get your chores done, and then just get them right back up and snuggle them to pieces. So as you all know, I'm a busy mom of all kinds of kids, ages 1 through 18 now, 6 boys, 2 girls, homeschool, full-time business, waving all my pom-poms, doing the things that I'm doing. But just know I enjoy all the things that I am doing and that I am operating and moving around amongst. So don't feel bad for me. Jamerrill's having a great time.